Yo guys, welcome to RenderRam. My name is Vieku, and today I'm going to be covering like the most basic carpet material in ArcViz, and I'm pretty much talking about stuff like this. So for example, this is the carpet from IKEA, and that carpet looks like this. See, like this little kind of fluffy thing? So yeah, that's the carpet that I'm going to be covering. But the biggest issue, whenever you are pretty much whenever you get a request to add a carpet like that, you would always go to the website and download the texture from the carpet, and those textures are not really big. So like this one from IKEA, this is the resolution. Like this is 100%. So if you want to do any sort of close-up here or something, yeah, that's not gonna work, right? So this is the scene that I have, and this is where I use that carpet. And if I go to 100% zoom, you can actually feel how the carpet has a nice definition. If I go to close-up, this is how my technique kind of works for close-ups. I think it's decent. I don't think you can go with like super macro close-ups with this, but I think this one is fairly enough. On the other hand, if you like the scene that I have here, if you like the light that I have here, how everything is arranged, how, detailed it looks like and all that, well, news is I started my own Patreon page. And on my Patreon, apart from YouTube, where I keep all my content very short, on my Patreon, I'm going to have a longer videos. So I have a making of this room that's, I think it's about 1 hour long video, where I'm pretty much explaining, all the processes, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, etc., etc. I'm also planning to upload on Patreon at least 2 times a month. I'm also going to be uploading a lot of my kind of personal R&Ds, studies, things that I'm, currently developing, so you can be pretty much on track with, whatever the things are that float in my head. Also, there's an option on Patreon to just support the channel, and if my tutorials have ever helped you with anything, like saved you from a really bad deadline or made you land a gig or something, just keep in mind that I like to drink a coffee or two from time to time. So yeah, head over to Patreon and see what's up there. So in my Max, I have created the carpet model, and I've added a plain material which just has that, like low resolution texture of the carpet. Speaking of how the carpet is made, if I just kind of isolate it, it's nothing fancy. Look at this. It's pretty much a plain, I mean, not a plane, but, object like this, with a little bit of noise on it, UVW map, and then corona displacement modifier. And this is pretty much how it's done. We're gonna start building the material from the scratch. This is, by the way, how my final material looks like for this whole thing. So yeah, let's kind of start. If I go to my second camera here, you can see how the texture that we're using is really not suitable for any sort of close-ups or something. So what I'm pretty much doing with this whole kind of thing, I'm using displacement to create all the little fluffy bits. And which type of displacement I'm using which node am I using, like which texture am I using? I'm using the procedural cellular map from Max. So I have first added already the corona displacement modifier. I have the subdivision quality enable override, and my screen pixels are 0.5. I think 1 is the default. It's just for this, for my kind of thing. I realized that 0.5 works the best. If you need like a super large consistency when it comes to accuracy of the little nits, etc., you want to consider enabling the world method. But the world methods can cost you a ton of RAM, so just be careful with the world method. It is the most accurate one, right? But yeah, okay, let's kind of start with the whole thing. So I have my material here. I'm just gonna zoom onto kind of the corner of the carpet. I'm just gonna right click here, maps, general, and I'm gonna add the cellular map. Now the cellular map I plan to plug into this place, right? And then I'm gonna add the little nits. But before I plug it into this place, I'm gonna actually plug it into my base color, because the base color is gonna react whenever I do any sort of changes. The base color is gonna react much quicker than the actual displacement. So I do my basic tweaking here, and then I'm gonna plug it into displacement back. So for the cellular, I'm just gonna set, I don't know if the blur amount has any effect on displacement, but I'll just lower it to 0.01. So okay, let's start. Size, we need a lower size, so let's try 20. Okay, no, we need more. Let's try 5. Let's try 1. Okay, one might work, but I kind of feel like those fluffy bits are actually much thicker. You know what? I'm gonna go size 2. Okay, so size 2. Another thing, so this is kind of the size part that I'm kind of tweaking. Now, I want to tweak the definition of the actual cellular. I just need to remember that this is size 2 because I'm going to switch that to size 1000 now. And this is the only thing that I'm focusing on now, what my cellular sees, right? So I'm going to increase my spread. So to something like this, because I don't have, you know, these black holes in my carpet, so I just want to increase the spread to, I don't know, let's say 0.8. Next, I want to add the fractal mode. So fractal is going to pretty much add like the fractalness of the little, you know, fluffy parts. One thing that I did, I think, with my original cellular, yeah, I lowered down the iterations. So that's what I'm going to do there, because the iteration is pretty much like how detailed or how dense the cellular is, and I lowered that to 2, you see, just so that it has that more of a bubbly kind of shape rather than, you know, like fractal chunky parts, because the problem then is when I'm going to add a corona displacement, the more iterations you have, the more, you know, it looks like, the more of like sort of spikes you're going to get in the displacement. And by lowering iterations, you're actually keeping all the little nits to be, you know, semi kind of rounded. And so, yeah. Okay, so iterations to 2. Now I can clearly see how the whole thing looks like, and I think I'm okay with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug this back to my, so I'm going to plug my texture back to my base. Let me just activate my interactive render. And now I'm going to plug this into displace. Okay. Now, for the displace, I'm just going to remove the base color just so that I can see what the displacement itself does. So currently we don't see anything, and that's because the size is 1000. So let me lower that to 2. Okay, we are starting to see some, you know, some sort of bubbliness. But the thing is, I want to have a very large minimum and a maximum level. So I'm going to set my minimum level in this example to be 1 centimeter. Now you can actually clearly see, you know, all the little nits kind of sticking out. And I think this looks generally okay for now. So at this point, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Now I'm just going to plug in my carpet texture here. And one thing that you can notice, our carpet kind of got darker, right? So look, without the displacement, it's just a brighter carpet, right? When I add the displacement, it just gets darker. The reason it gets darker is now we have all these little hairs, I mean, quote unquote hairs, sticking out, and they're actually casting tons of shadows everywhere. And because of all those micro shadowing, the whole carpet kind of went down. So at this point, I'm going to introduce some sort of translucency so that the light can actually travel kind of better through all the little nits. So yeah. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to reuse this node. Let me just hide my material map browser. Okay, so I'm going to use this node and I'm going to create a Corona color correct map. And now I'm going to plug that into translucency color. Now I need to click on my physical material here and activate thin shell no inside because translucency is now kind of grayed out. So I'm just going to enable this, and now we have the fraction amount and all that thing. And now I'm just going to set my translucency to, let's try 0.4 for example. And now as you can see, the carpet got even more darker, and that's because our translucency texture is actually pretty dark. So I'm just gonna increase the brightness to, let's say, 0.5. Okay, things are looking better. 0.5 or you know what? I'm actually gonna keep it 0.4, but I'm also gonna plug this into the translucency fraction. And now we actually got a much brighter kind of image because, you know, like the distribution is now differently handled. And now this is what we have. Let me just zoom in onto my carpet a little bit. We got this. Okay, this looks kind of better now. One thing that I can kind of notice, they look a little bit like all the little nits. They look a little bit glossy. And that's because of my physical material. My roughness is 0.75. So I'm just going to crank that up to 1 so that we kill any sort of kind of reflection. And yeah, this looks much better now. There is one thing missing when it comes to carpets. Carpets are super fuzzy, right? And like when you look at them under a hard angle, you're actually going to see that kind of Fresnel effect on them, and what pretty much happens is under a stronger angle they tend to become more pale. So I'm gonna take my regular carpet texture and I'm gonna add a fall off node. So if I go here to fall off, and if I plug it into map 1, I think, so yeah, on the map 1 the black part is the part that's kind of looking towards you. The white part is, you know, the thing that you see in the edge. I'm just gonna plug that into base color, and now I'm just gonna add another. So I'm just gonna add Corona color correct, and now I'm gonna plug it into my map 2. Now this color correct are the things that are gonna be kind of seen on the edge, and what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna increase the gamma on that texture, and that's gonna make it pale under that low angle of viewing, right? So I'm just gonna add my gamma to be 2.2 here, and yeah, this is now plugged in, and my carpet currently looks like this. Yeah, I think that I think that looks much better than before. Let me just check the close-up shot, and this is what we got. I mean, that looks, I don't know, it feels, at least to me, like you can stroke it, so I guess that's a good sign, especially when you compare it to kind of just a raw texture, you know, like this was our starting point. Yeah, I think this looks much better. And that's pretty much it. This is how I create my carpet materials. I think it's a very simple method. Just, you know, cellular, a bit of translucency, a bit of, you know, texture with fall off, and that's pretty much like how the whole process kind of works. Again, check out the Patreon page. It's brand new, brand fresh, and you can find a long making of tutorial on my whole room setup. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.